Jeff Herman's an attorney specializing in child abuse cases. He joins us to talk a little bit about this case that would be coming up at Penn State. Mr. Herman, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Sure.
The question, I guess, in all of this, first of all, let me ask you, did you happen to catch any of the interview with Jerry Sandusky that Bob Costas did the other night?
Yeah, I've seen the interview.
Okay. All right. When you listen to what the answers are, do you get a sense of what kind of a person you're dealing with?
Yeah, in my opinion, based on my experience, this is sort of classic pedophile speak. The kind of things that Sandusky was saying to sort of justify his behavior is what I typically hear from pedophiles. You know, when he says that he was merely horsing around, and to a pedophile, they believe that they really love children. It's just the way they love children is the way two adults would normally love each other. And so in his mind, you know, he's trying to convince everybody how much he loves kids. At the same time, he also wants to let the public know, which is why I think he went on in the first place, is all the good he's done for other children. And this is kind of how pedophiles kind of reconcile in their own minds because they know at some intellectual level that they're harming kids, but they also know, they believe that they're also helping kids.
Now, and I guess the question, you know, when I was watching this, I kept thinking, who gave him advice to do this interview? Because he didn't strike me as coming off very well.
No, it's incredible to me that a lawyer would allow him to come on like that. I think he really set himself up in a poor way for the criminal trial that's upcoming.
So you have been contacted by several of his alleged victims. So did any of them hear that interview? And if so, what were their reaction?
Yeah, I can't comment on the conversations I've had with people, but I will say that when a predator like the Sandusky, who's been accused here, of course, he hasn't been convicted yet, but when they get on and they make those denials, what that does for victims in a lot of cases, it inspires or incites them to come forward if they'd already been silent. They don't, when they hear these denials, they feel, you know what, that's not true, and they're going to come forward. And so I think, just based on Sandusky's statements, he's going to bring a lot more victims out to give evidence against him.
Yeah, you have to wonder, has this been going on longer than just what we know about?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's been going on for decades and decades, you know. And the problem that I see, unfortunately, is that when a predator is caught and they're not charged and they get away with it, like we know happened according to the grand jury in '98, it only emboldens them and they become even more aggressive and start even abusing at a higher rate.
So legally speaking, what will become of the nonprofit that Sandusky formed, basically supposedly to help underprivileged children? And does this sort of seem like it almost makes underprivileged children more vulnerable?
Well, they are more vulnerable. Anytime you have an organization dealing with children, you have a vulnerable population. But when you're dealing with kids who are in a program like the Second Mile, who are coming from dysfunctional families or different issues going on, they're even more vulnerable. And this is why predators are going to seek places out like this, which is why they have to be even more vigilant. So when there is a warning, when there is a complaint, you err on the side of caution. And they didn't do that here.
Jeff, I want to make something clear here. These are charges that have been alleged to have happened against Jerry Sandusky. He has not been convicted of anything, except perhaps in the court of public opinion, but certainly not in the court of law. I'm curious, is this the tentacles of this spreads a little bit more? You have an assistant coach who said, I saw this, I didn't do anything, and now he's saying he did do something. How much culpability does he have in all of this?
Well, I think from a civil standpoint, that the defendants we'll see in these cases will be the Penn State University, along with potentially the officials and Joe Paterno. I mean, the bottom line here is that it became clear, according to the grand jury report, that Sandusky was using the Penn State football program to groom his victims. And once they had that knowledge, you know, Joe Paterno, for all intents and purposes, was the Penn State football program. When he didn't shut down Sandusky in 2002 after those allegations, then I think that makes him and the university and the other officials who knew culpable.
Right. It almost seems like he was sort of this untouchable god that was just this sort of code of keeping things silent because of this whole, you know, the whole mentality around the game and the sport and Sandusky himself. But my question would be then, can we pretty much expect to see just lots of lawsuits heading toward Penn State?
Well, I think that is what we're going to see. I think, and now they're kind of, I think, gearing up for that. Based on certainly, I think their moves over the past couple of weeks is they realize now they're not out in front of this, and they've got some problems.
Jeff Herman, an attorney specializing in child abuse cases. Jeff, thank you for coming on. We'll keep in touch. Appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
All right, once again, these are things that are alleged against Jerry Sandusky, former defensive coordinator with Penn State, who retired back in 1999. Has not been convicted in court, but perhaps in the court of public opinion, everybody forms their own ideas.